All right, welcome everybody from wherever you're tuning in from around the world, whether it's morning or afternoon. I'm Dr. Josh Bondi. I'm the Director of Research at the Nevada Science Center in Henderson, Nevada. And we are up here in Carson City, which is the state capital of the great state of Nevada. And we are at the State Museum. But the State Museum is not just one building. So we're actually in a special part of the museum, which houses all of the collections of a museum. And we'll talk about more why some of this stuff isn't necessarily on display, why it's here in this special facility, as we talk with Collections Manager, Rachel Delovio.
Hi.
And she's going to be telling us about her collection. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about the State Museum and where we're at today?
Okay, so the Nevada State Museum, we're located in Carson City. The museum itself is located in a historic Mint building in downtown Carson. We're at an off-site facility in South Carson. And here we have some historic artifacts, but largely we also, and natural history, but largely we hold archaeological materials that have been removed from federal lands due to projects. That is the bulk of our offsite facility.
So you take care of like mostly human related stuff, or what does archaeology entail?
So archaeology is artifacts that are associated with associated people, and we are largely almost all the Great Basin. So our archaeological collections. So we have like projectile points, stone tools, textiles made by the native peoples in the area. So the Washoe, Paiute, and in the Western Shoshone.
So Rachel takes care of a lot of the stuff that humans have left behind, but because I'm a paleontologist, because I like bones, I've made her open up a couple of the fossil cabinets that are here at the State Museum today. So do you mind if we go through some of these and check out these fossils?
Yeah, sure, Josh. So we have largely Cenozoic in the anthropology department. So everything after the KT extinction.
After dinosaurs, after non-avian dinosaurs, yes.
Yes, after non-avian. So, and also, and even more recent, most of what we have is Pleistocene, but I believe we also have a few Miocene, earlier Cenozoic material.
Cool. Can we nerd out on the case?
Sure.
All right. Let's start on this bottom. So you'll probably notice that we're wearing the bright blue gloves. Rachel, do you want to tell them why we're wearing the gloves today?
So these are nitrile gloves, and this way our hands, which have residue of oils, even maybe something you had for lunch, we don't want them to get them on our artifacts or specimens. So we always wear gloves as protective coating to protect our collections.
So when we dig up fossils out on fossil sites, one thing I always tell people is that as soon as you dig up a fossil, you're taking responsibility for that specimen for the rest of time. But that's not actually true. So as a researcher, when I go out there and I dig up a fossil, I'm taking responsibility for that fossil initially. The person who actually has to take care of that fossil is somebody like Rachel. So you don't want to goof up and go through all this work of digging up a fossil, bringing it back to the lab, getting it cleaned up, and then somebody comes into collections like me and starts putting their hands all over it and getting it all messed up. But so that's why we're wearing the gloves. If you haven't seen these on us before, that's what we're doing. So these are, we're looking at collections. So this is stuff that's part of the official Nevada State Museum collection, right?
Yes.
So do people normally get to see this stuff?
Not too often, due to the size of the museum versus the size of the collection. We usually can only put out a few artifacts at a time in comparison to actually what we store.
All right, so taking a look here, this is part of an elephant-like animal's jaw. So this is the bottom jaw. So if you feel your chompers down below, if you just got done with lunch or if you just got done with breakfast, you're chewing with your bottom jaw, this is the bottom jaw of an elephant-like animal. But this is not an elephant. This is a cousin of them called a Gomphothere. We're just looking at this right before we came on. We can tell it's probably a Gomphothere versus another type of elephant-like animal by the number of bumps on its teeth. So those bumps, you count them up and that tells you the type of animal that it was. This little groove here, that's where the tongue of the animal would have come out of its mouth. So for like, if you watch videos of modern elephants eating leaves and things like that, their tongues come out and grab the food from the trunk. So we can see a couple of molars here. So these types of elephants had teeth more like us. So they had baby teeth, they had grown-up teeth, versus elephants and mammoths. So this is not an elephant or a mammoth, it's an elephant-like animal, which have very specialized teeth. All right.
And I believe a lot of these are private donations from maybe 30 up to 30, 40 years ago. So people being out and collecting and bringing them into the museum, which is something we don't encourage anymore. But
right. Looking at the tags from this one, it's probably about 12 to 14 million years old, from northwestern Nevada, from a period called the Miocene. All right, so I just talked about mammoths being similar to elephants. So the difference between those elephant-like animal teeth and an elephant tooth or a mammoth tooth, mammoths are just specialized elephants, is that they have these very specialized teeth that grow forward in the jaw like a conveyor belt. And then they have these really sophisticated grinding teeth. So that previous elephant-like animal was probably eating leaves and forage. An elephant like this is probably eating grass, and grass is really abrasive on your teeth. So that's why they have these really specialized processing chompers. So this is a full-grown tooth from a Colombian mammoth. So Colombian mammoths have been found across the entirety of the state of Nevada. So everywhere from far northern Washoe County to far southern Clark County. So this is an adult one. This is also a mammoth tooth, but it's much smaller. So this one is probably from a baby. Rachel, do you know anything about this specimen?
Sure. So this was a donation from Dr. Lee. He was a Victorian era collector, and actually his collections form the basis of the Nevada State Museum's collections. He had artifacts, especially baskets. He also collected natural history specimens such as this. We also have a dire wolf mandible from him, and as well as historic artifacts. So his widow donated his collection upon his death, and really, I said, was our first large collection as an institution. In fact, Dr. Anna Camp of the Anthropology Department is her special for her Curator's Corner this month was Dr. Lee, Dr. Lee's collection.
Very cool. So the entire state collection started with the donation that this little specimen came from. Ooh, we got some more goodies in here. This is like Christmas time, so you get to open up all the different drawers and see all the goodies inside that people probably haven't looked at in years, right?
Yes.
So that's part of working in a museum, is that collections come in, you take care of them, and ideally you don't have to really do much with them. The less they get handled, actually, the better. Here, I go handling them.
Oh, he ever goes out, so it's okay.
So this is a horse jaw. So this is probably from also that same period of time, the Miocene. And the way we tell different horse species apart is all the different wiggles on their individual teeth. This one's from the top jaw. So this is the top of the snout right here. And so the nose would be down here. And that's these really deep recesses on the sides of the jaw. So this is from a period of time, again, the Miocene, where ecosystems across the Great Basin are kind of changing over from broadleafs over to more grassy environments. So they don't have as tall a teeth as modern horses, but they're still pretty tall. And then another elephant-like animal jaw. So this one's probably from a mastodon, right? I think that's what it said, stegomastodon. So again, another one of these weird elephant-like animals, lived a long time ago.
And I also want to mention, Josh, that these cabinets and all the shelving here were paid for through the BLM and through a grant from the Department of Interior. So it helped rehouse, inventory our paleontological collection. So
that's awesome. I've been a research associate, which means I've been affiliated with the Nevada State Museum for a lot of years. I don't want to say anything because it looked a little bit different when I came in this time. It's been a while since I've been in because of COVID and everything else. But yeah, it looks great. So the BLM is the Bureau of Land Management, who administers lots of the state of Nevada where lots of these specimens are found. So that's awesome. We have some more mammoth tooth fragments in here. So again, each one of these layers is a layer of enamel, separated by layers of cementum. So these just act like big specialized grind gears for chewing up grass. All right, what do we have in here, Rachel?
That's a good question.
Camelops.
Yeah, this is some material from Washoe County. Oh, from a private collector.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one here, I caught my eye earlier. Did you know that rhinos used to live in Nevada? So this is a molar or chewing tooth from the cheek of a rhinoceros that used to live here in Nevada up until about 8 million years ago. We found a couple of bones of these things about 20 miles south in Gardnerville.
Oh, wow. I believe we do have some short-faced bear material in here, Josh.
Short-faced bear is a favorite of mine from when I was an undergraduate at the University of Nevada, where actually I first met Rachel and we were working in these collections. And they're an ice age bear species, which is larger than even a modern polar bear. And we're kind of built like cats. So they're hyper carnivores, chasing down all of the Pleistocene or ice age animals for food.
It starts up here.
All right.
So we have a short-faced bear skull and a little bit of postcranial encased in tufa. And I believe this is all from that specimen.
Okay. So this is saying this is a medial phalanx. And so medial phalanx would be the middle finger. Don't worry, we can talk about this scientifically. So just to put mine in comparison, how much bigger this animal's hand would have been than. And so I'm 6'4", and so this animal would have been significantly larger than me, at least especially in the hands. So
now the short-faced bear is the largest bear. Is that correct?
Largest North American bear, yeah. It's a whole group. So do we want to show anything else?
Just some more
horse ankles, horse teeth.
You're just looking at them.
Checking it all out. You know, when you're working in collections and stuff like this, are these bags just like the bags that maybe they bring their lunches to their sandwiches to lunch in the school?
Oh, well, a little more specialized. They're virgin polyethylene, so they do not break down easily. So
you want to put your PB&J in one of these
yeah.
bags?
Well, it actually would preserve it really well. And then same with our ethofoam that we have sitting on all stable materials that should not be degrading over time.
All right, so this is a whole science of taking care of specimens, is like even specialized materials like we preserve fossils in or artifacts, right?
Yes, exactly. And over time we do learn, oh, well, maybe this material wasn't well. And then, so there is always an upgrade of collection care.
Do we have time for one more drawer? Or?
Okay, let's do it. Let's see.
All right. Ooh, we got a great big. This is our end of a bison. Look how big those bones are. The equivalent bone on a cow, which is really closely related to a bison, would probably only be about that wide. So this is a great big animal. Do you have lots of Ice Age stuff, Rachel, in collections?
Yes, we do have a bit here. So any of the folks that are watching, if you've been to the Nevada State Museum in Carson City, we have a Columbian mammoth on exhibit. It's in our earth science exhibit. It looks like it's drowning in mud. So that's the cast, and we hold a fossil here at our offsite facility.
So lots of the fossils that I dig up and our executive director Becky digs up around the state that we've shown you in previous virtual field trips, or you'll see in future virtual field trips. A lot of that material is probably going to end up right here and under Rachel's care. So we'll try not to make too big of a mess. And if there's any questions, I think we're happy to answer those questions now.
Absolutely. We have a number of questions. We'll try and get through all of them for you guys. We won't take up too much of your time, but we have a question all the way from General Wayne Elementary in Pennsylvania, and they wanted to know, there's a first grader who wants to know if you keep your bones in, are they required to be in a certain temperature or can they be room temperature? And if they're at room temperature, do they stay preserved as any other temperature?
Well, ideally, you want around 68 to 70 degrees for collections, not too hot, not too cold. And even
Fahrenheit.
oh, thank you. And even a certain humidity, depending where you're at. Here, our humidity is really low, so we can't add humidity. But places like Pennsylvania, I'm sure the museums there, like the Carnegie Academy of Sciences, they probably remove humidity from their facility because too much can be damaging. So either too much or too little, and it depends where that fossil was removed from as well.
That's very interesting. There's a little girl, she wants to know, what advice would you have for her, Rachel, if she wanted to pursue your career path?
Well, there's a couple of different ways people go about working in museums. Some folks specialize in a certain degree, biology, anthropology, history, or even if some folks, in the arts, go to art history. I got a master's in museum science at Texas Tech University. So there are quite a few programs for folks to do a museum background, do a pure museum science background or museum studies, where you focus on collection care, or say museum management or museum education. So that's how I went about it.
That's very interesting. One of the kids, they want to know, are you interested in one time more specifically than other times?
Well, when I was actually in grad school, when I was at Texas Tech, my professor there, he did Triassic specimens, and I really had a lot of fun with that. Triassic Archosaurs, that was really fascinating. But I also have an interest in Polynesian artifacts from my background. So I think there's so much, and I enjoy learning about what the Great Basin tribes here. Their culture. So there's just everything, I think, is what's nice about working at a museum. You're constantly learning.
Well, we can't imagine. And we thank you for joining us and sharing this information with us today. Can you tell us, one of the classes here, they want to know, what is your favorite fossil that you've ever come across in your career?
Oh, favorite fossil ever? Well, my favorite fossil here, I'll start with that, is the Shortfaced Bear. It's pretty amazing. I remember when I just finished grad school and I was doing my internship here, and when I met Josh, and he was working on the Shortfaced Bear, and I was not familiar with that before. So, and also when I was in grad school, there was a very large Triassic amphibian that I'm blanking on. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Yay. Yes, so Metoposaur, and I love amphibians, so I just thought it was a really cool specimen.
That's absolutely wonderful. So I'm gonna first, again, thank you very much for joining us today, Rachel. This is really interesting and really awesome, and you're our first speaker of the entire year, so this is very exciting. And I'm going to hand it over to Josh. Josh, can you tell us some of the exciting things that are on the horizon for the Nevada Science Center and any events that you guys have planned?
Yeah, you bet. So at the Nevada Science Center, stay tuned. We have a number of virtual field trips that we're going to be doing throughout the fall. So follow our website. If you want to support our virtual field trip program also, you can donate through the website. Continue us doing what we're doing. And so follow the schedule. We have a couple of events that we're doing back home in Henderson, Nevada. So if you're in Henderson, you can check out the Halfway to St. Patrick's Day Festival we'll be a part of. And we're also going to be doing a big special event. So if you want to see the special news that's going to be coming up, follow us on our social media platforms or on our website. And we have some big news coming up.